Hey guys, Doc back here for a second episode of the Mark Bagley retrospective for his time on ASM. Alright, so we're going to pick up with issue 353, which is the first part of a 6-part bi-weekly story called Round Robin, Revenge of the Sidekick. And this is got the Punisher and Darkhawk inside of it. And we wake up at the beginning of the issue to see a mysterious character called Midnight fighting some agents of the Secret Empire. Now, what I'm going to say about this book is I was 11 when this book came out, 10, 11. So I didn't know that much about Marvel as a whole. And this story, written by Al Milgrom with, again, art by Mark Bagley and Randy Emmerlin, brings some characters from the New Warriors, from Moon Knight, from Darkhawk. So we're getting a bigger slice of the Marvel pie. And what's crazy is that, you know, this is, other than the New Warriors, this is Mark Bagley's first big outing, you know, as a penciler. And he gets to create, or he gets to draw all of these different characters that all have different powers. They all have different sets of powers, and he has to show, you know, that he can draw all of these different characters. And Al Milgrom wrote this, which I guess Al was still tied in with the MCU at that point, and, you know, knew enough about all of these characters to write them all convincingly. He had written and drawn Spider-Man for quite a while, so of course he's got his hooks into Spidey. But Daredevil was a brand new character at that point. Midnight, you come to find out, was the former sidekick of Moon Knight. And he is now working for the Secret Empire because they destroyed his body. They captured him after a fight with Moon Knight. They destroyed his body, rebuilt him as a cyborg. And so now he's out to get revenge on Moon Knight, Spider-Man, Darkhawk. He's just angry. He's upset. And you get to see in all of these pages his power level. You get to see that he can go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man and Darkhawk at the same time. You know, and at this point, he doesn't have all of the powers that the Secret Empire has promised him. So Mark's evolution on this particular 6-parter shows that he can draw multiple characters at the same time. He can draw action sequences. He can draw a bunch of different moving parts throughout this whole story and still make it cohesive and still get it turned in on time. I mean, it's one thing to do, you know, 30 pages at this point per month and get them turned in less than 30 days so that they can get it lettered, colored, and all of that. But to do a bi-weekly storyline as soon as you pretty much jump onto the title, how crazy is that? Well, you get to see in the next issue, Nova enters the picture, and then Night Thrasher comes in as well. And where we left off in the last part, Jeff had thrown Midnight had thrown a glider of the Secret Empires, and it was headed towards an elderly lady in a wheelchair. And Spidey's like, I'm never going to make it in time. But he pretty much does the fastball special with Darkhawk, tosses him at it, and Hawk manages to grab the controls, but it sends it into a building. So he's being pretty hard on himself, and Spidey's like, hey, you had the right idea. The how did it say that? Let's see. What did it say exactly? Your instincts were good, your execution was just a little sloppy, but you did save those people on the street. I couldn't have prevented that platform from taking them out, so we covered each other's butts. And you get Spidey talking to him, and saying, hey, you had him tracked with your force field, and then he started talking, and then you let him go. What happened? And he said, it kind of reminded me of something, and it reminded him of his dad, who at this point, Darkhawk's father is missing, and they think that he was on the take, taking money from Basil, who is a crime boss in that world. They thought his dad was on the take and taking money from him, and he was a dirty cop. And so Darkhawk, whose name is Chris, is trying to figure all this out. And he says, I'll think about what you've said. Thank you. You've given me a lot to think about. And in the meantime, Midnight successfully broke Thunderbolt, one of the wrecking crew, out of jail. And the Secret Empire wants to use Dr. Elliot, who's Thunderbolt, to help create new weapons and to recruit new people, because one of the secret agents of the Secret Empire actually says, so you wouldn't recommend trying to recruit, say, your wrecking crew compatriots to our ranks? And he's like, no. Of course, we don't have our powers anymore, but beyond that, let me offer you some advice. Supervillains, Lord, that's a corny label, are a mean, honorary, independent, and contentious lot. I doubt they'd fit in well with your team concept. If they bought in, you might have yourself some primo agents, kids who work and play well with others. Beyond that, take it from someone who's had personal experience. The good guys seem to win out in the vast majority of conflicts. So then he puts them on to Nova and says, you know what? I've heard about this kid Nova. He seems pretty new. He might be somebody that you could recruit for the Secret Empire and get some more muscle behind it. Meanwhile, Midnight is having a tantrum, and he's like, I don't want to take orders from these people, so instead of taking orders, I'm just going to take over. And he's got a friend of his that's a nurse, and he says, and once I've gotten revenge on Moon Knight and taken over the Secret Empire, I'll lay the world at your feet. Meanwhile, you get Spider-Man reaching out to Moon Knight, and he says, hey, I just wanted to let you know that we found Jeff, your former sidekick. And he's like, oh, where is he? And he's like, how do you know where he is now? And he said, no, but I managed to plant a tracer on him. When I triangulate that, then I'll let you know. So Nova gets attacked by Midnight. Actually, he just kind of drops in on him. He doesn't really attack him, but instead he makes him feel like, hey, you got to save me. And along the way, he gives the pitch, and he's like, I think they're right up the middle. They found me, literally saved my life, and gave me my power with their advanced technology, and now they want to save the country and maybe the world. And in the end, Spidey sees the two, finds them, and says, here you go, Nova, let me save you from this guy. And Richard Rider is like, hey, I had this under control. Who asked you to butt in? Meanwhile, he gets on the radio to Night Thrasher, who is one of his new Warriors teammates, and he says, I've got something cooking out here. Get Spider-Man off my tail, will you? So Night Thrasher shows up, and in the end, we get Moon Knight, Night Thrasher, Spider-Man. Now, Darkhawk is kind of going off to do his own thing, but he'll be back in later issues. So, again, you get to see just fast-paced action. It just never stops. That's what you learn about Mark Bagley in these first, 10 to 12 issues, 15, hell, even 20 issues on the title, is you get to see that the action just never slows down. And Mark is more than capable of handling all of that action, all of these characters. You can tell the love and the strength in his pencils. He believes in Marvel. He believes in Spider-Man. He believes this is not just a job to him. He's enjoying the heck out of drawing these characters, and he still does. He still does. I met him at a con here in Memphis last year, and just an absolute nice guy. Just top-notch nice guy. So that's the next 2 issues of The Amazing Spider-Man, and the first 2 parts of Round Robin, the Sidekick's Revenge. So let me know what you guys think about this. I might try to do like a top-down video for the next, because I want to focus on Mark's artwork and how it evolves over time. And I know that I've been moving through this mainly talking about the story, but I want you guys to get to see how Mark's artwork starts to dial in as the longer that he's on the title. So let me know what you think about these first two episodes in this series, and we will tweak that as well. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. I hope that when you get to the shop on Wednesday that you pick up everything that you want, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like these videos so that you don't miss out on the next episode of this series, as well as my weekly comic hauls and everything else that comes through. Take care, guys.